folk. Welcome to episode 21 of Dixon Drawing Class. Okay, so we are getting to the good stuff. This is the part we've gone past environments and we've gone past talking about props and we've gone past talking about animals and people and basic shapes and things like that. Now is the time when you work on your own final project. And I'm going to show you the steps of how to create an illustration like this or like this so that you'll be on your feet and can create whatever you want to create, whatever shows up in your head. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the first step of what you want to do when you are creating your own illustration or your own project. And the very first thing you do, you get an idea in your head, right? And the very first thing you need to do after you get that idea is you need to collect references. Okay, we've talked about collecting references before. You gather lots of pictures from the internet, from Pinterest, look up pictures of artists' illustrations that you want it to look like. You could even do some speed painting to get that under your fingers. So you might have an idea in your head right now of what you want to do for your final project. And if you don't, it might be a good idea to come up with a list and brainstorm and see what you're feeling the most passionate about. Once you have that idea, you want to collect references. What I've got here is I had the idea that I would like to do a Mary Poppins illustration of Feed the Birds. And so I have collected a bunch of reference pictures and I'm going to show you how and what I collected right now. So if we take a look at this, you can see that I have a lot of pictures of St. Paul's Cathedral at different angles, right, from the air, from below. I have illustrations of other artists of the Bird Lady. I have the actual picture of the Bird Lady, picture of Mary Poppins and the kids. I thought this picture was awfully good because it showed a lot of the foreground elements. This in the background, these might be useful to incorporate into the illustration if I want to frame the picture and have foreground elements, that kind of thing. The snow globe, just anything and everything that might possibly help me as I'm creating this illustration. As you can see, I've even collected color swatches of maybe the possible colors that I'm thinking of. Okay, so we have a real treasure trove. I even have screen caps. All right. It's kind of dark and hard to see, but there's Mr. Banks and you know, the cathedral and things. Okay, once you have that down, you're going to be looking at that reference to be able to create the thumbnails. And what thumbnails are is that they are mini sketches of what you want the picture to end up like. And you always need to begin with thumbnails. Otherwise, it's just going to become really overwhelming really fast. Let me tell you how we do thumbnails. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so what we got here is our drawing sheet for this week, and we have 8 different squares in the size of paper laid out so that you can create your own thumbnails at home. And what I'm going to do right now for the drawing portion is I'm going to show you how I create thumbnails, and I'm going to kind of walk you through it so that this week you can work on your own thumbnails. All right, so my idea is Mary Poppins and kids and Jane and Michael seeing Bird Lady, okay? All right, this is at St. Paul's Cathedral. One of the things that might be the most useful to do as you create these thumbnails, and these thumbnails will actually be this size. Don't draw them huge. You have to draw them small. Otherwise, you're going to get really overwhelmed. And there's something about drawing things small. You can tell if the design works if it's small. And sometimes when you draw things big, it's a lot harder to tell if the composition is working because it's just so big. But if something is working when it's small, it's going to work when it's big. Okay, so I think it might be interesting to do one that's very tall. So if we have maybe the steps of the cathedral right here, and the bird lady would be right here, and you'd have, you know, one of the spires right here, and I'd look at, you know, the picture of the cathedral. I believe there's things, or I believe there's pillars here. Look at pictures of the cathedral, look at your reference pictures as you go on, and have, let's see, here's birds everywhere, and maybe Mary Poppins and the children would be right here, okay? Something just that simple is all you need to do for your thumbnail. All right, let's do a different composition. Let's try something maybe longer. All right, and when you're doing these compositions, you want to ask yourself, what is the feeling that I want? What am I trying to convey? For example, if I did a close-up of Mary Poppins, and we have maybe the cathedral behind her with the birds and stuff. First of all, you'd be asking, why is she not looking at the bird lady? Okay. But the other thing that you'd be asking is that it would be a more intimate moment with Mary Poppins, because when you do close-ups on people or close-ups on things, you pay attention to that one thing. Okay. And that one thing here is Mary Poppins, and so when we look at Mary Poppins close up, we're wondering if there's some kind of emotion that we should be feeling when we're looking at her, etc. Okay, however, if you do something that's very far away, let's do a shot where it is like this. Here are the steps of the cathedral. The bird lady's right here. Here are the pillars. So we're looking down, basically. Okay, here's Mary Poppins. Here's the kids. Okay, for one thing, this is a very dynamic angle. Okay. And so you kind of feel like you're caught in a little bit of action. There's a lot of movement. And you have to ask yourself, you know, is this the sort of feel that I want? It also, when you do these wide shots, it distances you from the characters. And so when you do a wide shot like this, it may sometimes mean that you're not going to connect with the characters. In fact, you get a lot of wide shots when you're establishing a scene, so you just need to get the setting, what the setting looks like. And you do a lot of wide shots when you want something to be funny. If there's a slapstick gag and you want something to be funny. Like if you watch Nacho Libre and they're doing something really funny, sometimes they cut to this wide shot. And the gag happens. And it seems a lot funnier because if they did a close-up and you saw the character's pain as they were like getting hit in the face or whatever, then it wouldn't be as funny. But because we have a wide shot, distances us from the character, and so it's a lot more funny. Okay, so let's see. What's another thing we can do? I kind of am liking this wide shot here. Let's try straight on. Okay, we've got the horizon. I like to draw a grid for the horizon. We've got the steps, maybe a pillar here. Here's the old bird lady, birds. Okay, what if we had Mary Poppins here? Okay, we can have some foreground buildings or signs or whatever. And here are the kids. Michael might be running up with his tuppence. Okay. London buildings in the background. Maybe some smokestacks. I kind of like this. I think this is nice. It's just very straightforward. It's straight on. It's a scene where the characters can act. If Jane and Michael are running up to the bird lady, we want the focus to be on Jane and Michael. And the bird lady, we don't necessarily want a super dynamic Dutch angle scene. Okay, so the focus is on the characters. I'm going to go through and do a couple more thumbnails. We're going to speed this up. Hopefully it might give you some ideas as you work on yours. Okay, here we have 8 different thumbnails, and let me tell you kind of what I like about some of them and what I don't like. If you can tell by my chicken scratches what these are. Here we have an over-the-shoulder shot, basically, of Mary looking at Jane and Michael about to give their tuppence to the bird lady. And I do like that kind of the composition of this, because it all kind of comes towards the bird lady. But I don't like it in that, because Mary Poppins is in the foreground, it's kind of like we're seeing it from her point of view. And I feel like that's a little too self-indulgent. I feel like this is a moment that should be more distant and epic and thoughtful versus a personal, if that makes sense. Here we have a picture of, it's a little hard to tell, it's really small, but they're thumbnails. I told you they're thumbnails. Of the Mary Poppins and the kids on the step with the bird lady, and Michael would have a bird on his head, and you know, they would be having just this fun little moment. And I think that I like the composition, and I think that would be fun acting, but also it feels like maybe that gives the bird lady a little bit too much personality, and I want this to be maybe not quite as fun as all that. I want this to feel a little bit more epic, because that really is an epic song. When I look at this one, as you can see, this is Mary Poppins' skirt in the foreground, and you can see a little bit of her shoe here. It's a very low shot. The camera's very low. There's Jane. Here's Michael running up. Here's the bird lady. This is okay. It makes Mary Poppins feel a little bit like she's kind of lording over them all, because she's so big in the foreground, and that isn't exactly the feeling that I want. And here is another shot of birds here up in the foreground, and we're looking almost straight down on them. Here are the pillars of stairs. There's Mary Poppins and Jane and Michael. And the staging of this one could be cool. It's a little bit awkward, so it doesn't feel like it's as iconic as it could be. So these are all questions that you need to be asking when you're putting your thumbnails together. Is does this reflect the mood? It's where I've placed the characters and how I've staged the shot. Is it exactly the mood and the story and the feeling that I'm wanting to convey? And so this is all things that you need to ask yourself when you're putting your thumbnails together. I'll tell you, I really like the ones that are a little bit more distant. So I really like this one, and I really like this one. So what I would do is, when you find thumbnails that you like, I would take each of those thumbnails and do 4 more thumbnails based on that. And then you can pick out the one that you like the best, and you will find one that you like the best, and you will be able to move forward with the sketch. So that is your homework this week. Your homework is to collect a file reference of pictures. Ding! For your final project, and create at least thumbnails of different layouts for it. You can print out this page, draw the thumbnails here. You can draw the thumbnails in your sketchbook. Figure out which composition and which thumbnail you want to move forward with for your final sketch. And also, you can work on drawing the elements of the picture that you want to do. So you're collecting a reference file. For me, I would be drawing pictures of birds. I would be drawing pictures of St. Paul's Cathedral. I would just really try and get the feel and those elements and stuff under my fingers. Okay, wow, this was kind of a short drawing class today. Really important stuff to learn. Now it's time for the part where I answer a question. So this is a follow-up question I was asked to the question I answered last week. The question is, What do I do if I found my artwork stolen online? This is a pretty easy answer. All you gotta do is find the person who stole it, their email address, send them an email, a nice email, make sure it's nice, and just asking them to stop. Say, hey, that's my artwork. I'd love it if you asked permission or if you credited me or didn't steal it. But being nice is really, really important, because if you are mean, a lot of times people are mean back, and you don't want to invite those vampires in your life, so don't. Just be nice, be professional, and be kind when you ask them to stop. And people are really, really nice. They usually do. So, okay, you know your homework. Draw those 8 thumbnails, work on the elements, collect a picture file. I'm way excited for you and your final project. See you next week.